I'm Jim Harrington and here to talk about yoga for sports. People always ask what is the difference between yoga for sports and other kinds of yoga, and it's quite simple. I would say most yoga is yoga for yoga. That means you are practicing yoga to improve, to get good at doing yoga. Yoga for sports is yoga with a slightly different intention and goal, and that is for sports performance. So the way that I can explain this is I usually suggest for yoga teachers to examine the sport, think about what is the key action, that's one thing. What is the key action in that sport? So for example, for runners, for long distance runners, or middle distance runners, a key action is getting extension in the hip, meaning that the trailing leg when they pushing off the ground is further behind the rest of the body. This, for example, a yoga teacher can target and work on opening the front of the hip, strengthening the back of the hip. So the key action of any sport, if you're a yoga teacher, you can look into that and then consider targeting the way that you do your yoga postures or guide your yoga postures. Second thing is, what is the key muscle imbalance that happens in that sport? So, for example, surfing. I'm a surfer, I've been surfing my whole life. Having the shoulders back, paddling a board like that is very easy for me. My back knows how to do that. But the result is the back line gets tight. There's a tendency to get maybe a little compression in the middle of the spine. So each type of sport, if you do it repetitively, will develop a muscle imbalance in the body. So if you examine that kind of sporting action, understand where is the body getting tight, where is the body getting underused, overused and underused. Yoga can be very effective as a alignment, realignment, bringing the body back towards some kind of balance. So those two things are pretty critical foundation of the yoga for sports method. Going further, we can look at, I think of yoga as a technology. There's lots of different technology in the field of yoga. For example, breathing, breath work. There's a whole field of pranayama, how to master, how to improve lung function. There's a whole field of meditation, which would include working with the mind. There's even a whole field of philosophy, which is really about psychology, working with the way that our mind, our human mind works and can work. Then there's alignment, where we're working with the structure of the body, the skeleton, the bones, the ligaments, the connective tissues. Yoga works to keep that in balance and keep elongating the spine, going upwards. So this is a way, for example, that we keep winning the fight against gravity. Mobility, range of movement in the joints, having a healthy range of movement around your joints means not just that you're flexible, but you're actually strong in that range is another area. So I'm listing alignment, breathing, meditation, mobility. We could also say balancing. There's a lot of balancing postures in yoga, either balancing on one leg, two legs, one arm, two arms, one leg and one arm, balancing on the head. There's all sorts of combinations. This is one sort of branch, if you like, of yoga practice. You could say balancing postures. What else do we have? Then there's what I would call or consider strength postures, where usually it's some kind of transition. So moving from one posture into another posture, moving from one shape into another shape, where It requires a combination then of balance, mobility, maybe a particular core strength. So if we understand yoga as this sort of collection of techniques, technology, and then we are discerning in the way that we choose. So I'm going to choose a little bit of this, a little bit of that one, I'm going to leave out that one. So we're discerning in what we're going to use for each particular sport. And I really feel that this is the best way for an athlete to make the most of yoga practice. As opposed to, the athlete could just go to a generic regular yoga class. Of course, they will get some benefits from that. There's lots of benefits from going to a yoga class. But I always say, if you're a tennis player, you go to a tennis coach. If you're a runner, you go to a running coach. So why would the tennis player and the runner go to exactly the same yoga class? So we're just being a little bit more discerning, choosing which are the most important postures or exercises to do for that particular athlete. So I think that's a summary of what I'm doing with Yoga for Sport.